Good evening. I hope that you have had a good week and the weekend is going well for you. Um, this coming week, we will be working on chapter 4. Um, we'll do some PowerPoints. I do want to remind you, we do have a quiz, you have a paper. Make sure you read the book because it seems like the questions that you miss are the ones that maybe you didn't look a little bit closer. You tried to do it directly from what I'm giving you in the PowerPoints, and that's not going to give you all the information that you need. So please make sure that you um, pay attention to what you're doing and you make sure that you read the book. Okay. So let's go ahead and let me share my screen here. So we are on social structure and interaction in everyday life. So things that we would be doing. What statuses do you occupy and your friends? Why do we interact differently with our parents than we do with our friends? And of course, we don't talk to our friends and our parents the same way. How does social change occur? And what can we learn from observing how people interact with one another? So this chapter is going to talk about social structure, the macro level perspective, components of social structure, societies, technology, and socio-cultural change, sociological perspectives on stability and change in society, social interaction, the micro level perspective, and looking ahead, we'll look at social change, social structure, and interaction in the future. So, social interaction. It is the process by which people act toward or respond to other people and is the foundation of all of our relationships in as groups in society. Social structure is the complex framework of the societal institutions and the social practices that make up a society and that organize and establish limits on people's behavior. So the social structure as the macro level perspective. It is it's a framework, and that framework is a social structure, and it is necessary in society and in groups. The functionalist theory emphasized that social structure is essential because it creates order and predictability in a society. And social structure is important for our human development. Social structure gives us the ability to interpret the social situations that we encounter. According to Marx, in a capitalistic society where a few people control the labor of many, the social structure reflects as a system of relationships of domination among categories of people. You have the people who own the companies, and you have the workers. The workers are making the money, they're doing the job making the money, but the money isn't necessarily going to them, it's going to the owner. So it creates boundaries that define which persons or groups will be the insiders and which ones are going to be the outsiders. So here is a framework. We have society. On one side, we have social institutions. The others, we have statuses and roles. Under status institutions, we have the traditional, which is the family, religion, education, government, and economy, and the emergent, which is sports, mass media, science, medicine, military. Under the status and roles, we have ascribed status, which is race and ethnicity, age, gender, and class, and achieved status, which is occupation, education, income level. And then you have social groups, and you have a primary group, which is family members and close friends and peers, and then secondary groups like school, church, corporations. Components of a social structure, you have a status. It's a socially defined position in a group or society that is characterized by certain expectations, rights, and duties. And you have a status set, and that comprises all the statuses that a person occupies at a given time. Our status set can change depending on where we are and what we're doing. An ascribed status is a social position. It's conferred at birth, or it could be received involuntarily later on in life, and based on the attributes over which that individual has little or no control over. Examples of that: race, ethnicity, age, gender. We don't have any control over that. It's how we were born, it's how we grow up, and it's whether we are born with an XY or an XX chromosome. An achieved status is a social position that a person assumes voluntarily as a result of personal choice, merit, or direct effort. Our occupation, our education, and our incomes. There is a master status, and that is most important status a person occupies. It dominates all the individuals' other statuses and plays a main role in determining a person's general social position. Being poor or rich is a master status, and that influences many other areas of life, including our health, our education, and our life opportunities. If we are born poor and in a poor neighborhood, our education system may not be as good as someone who is born to into a richer family. So health is probably going to be better, because if you don't have money to spend on health, you probably aren't going to go to the doctors, go to the hospital when you need to, and you're not going to have the same opportunities. It's very difficult when you're born in one group to be a part of a higher group. And the status symbols, those are the material signs that inform others of a person's specific status. So we have a role, and that's the set of behavioral expectations associated with our status. Role expectation in a group's or a society's definition of the way that a specific role ought to be played. Role performance is how that person actually plays that role. Role conflict occurs when incompatible role demands are placed on a person by two or more statuses held at the same time. And then role strain occurs when incompatible demands are built into the single status with a person that the person occupies. And so then we have the role exit, and that occurs when people disengaged from the social roles that have been central to their self-identity. A social group consists of two or more people who interact frequently and share a common identity and a feeling of interdependence. Social group that would fit into your sports groups. You depend on each other. Primary group is a small, less specialized group in which members engage in face-to-face, emotional-based interactions over an extended period of time. And then a secondary group is a larger, more specialized group in which members engage in a more impersonal, goal-oriented relationship for a limited period of time. We have a formal organization, high-structured group formed for purposes of completing certain tasks or achieving specific goals. A social institution, set of organized beliefs and rules that establish how a society will attempt to meet its basic social needs. Now, a formal organization might be IBM. It's a company that has a hierarchy that is formed to complete certain tasks. But then a social institution, that could be a group that makes sure that people are housed, are fed, have activities that they can do. So the functional theorist suggests that social institutions perform essential functions for society. If you lose members, you replace members. You teach the new members. You're producing, distributing, and consuming goods. You're preserving order. You have laws. You're providing and maintaining a sense of purpose within the group. Conflict theorists agree that social institutions are originally organized to meet basic social needs. However, they believe that social institutions don't meet everyone's needs equally. So we have the hunting and gathering societies. They use simple technology for hunting animals and gathering vegetation. For hunting, they may have started out with spears, knives, and then moved on to things like early guns that they would have used for hunting. Young children and older people are expected to contribute what they can to secure the food supply. But healthy adults of both sexes are expected to obtain most of the food. Analysts predict that these groups will soon cease to exist as food producers with more dominating technologies usurp the geographic areas. If you have higher technology, think about it. If people had bows and arrows and they came across somebody with guns, the guns were a higher technology than bows, arrows, and spears. So pastoral societies, they're based on technology that supports the domestication of large animals to provide food. Those are groups that have the cows and pigs and things like that. Gender inequality is greater in pastoral societies because men herd the larger animals and women contribute relatively little to substance production. So the women don't necessarily go out and hunt. They don't go out and kill the animals. They may have other purposes, though, when it comes down to it. But the men are the ones who are handling the larger animals. We have a horticultural society that's based on technology that supports the cultivation of plants to provide food. In contemporary horticultural societies, women do most of the farming while men hunt game. The men will clear the ground, clear the land. The women will work with arts and crafts. The men will make tools, participate in religious and ceremonial activities, and the men will also engage in war. Agrarian societies, they use technology of large-scale farming, including animal-drawn or energy-powered plows and equipment to produce their food supply. We may see with most farms, they have mechanical equipment now, but we still see folks like the Amish that are still using animal-drawn sleds and things like that to handle their farming techniques. Farming made it possible for people to spend their entire lives in the same location. The food surpluses made it possible for people to live in cities. Social inequality and gender inequality are the highest in agrarian societies. There are industrial societies. Those are based on technology that mechanizes the approach to production. The invention of the steam engine brought about new types of transportation and included steamships and trains. Religion and politics is influential in industrial societies, but social inequality remains a problem. Post-industrial societies are ones in which technology supports service and information-based economy. Knowledge is viewed as the basic source of innovation and policy and formulation in post-industrial societies. As a result, formal education and other sources of information become crucial to the success of individuals and organizations. Durkheim asked, how do societies merge to hold together? And according to him, social solidarity derives from the society's social structure. And it's based on the society's division of labor. Division of labor, of course, refers to how the various tasks of society are divided up and performed. To explain social change, Durkheim categorized societies as having either mechanical or organic solidarity. The mechanical solidarity refers to the social cohesion of pre-industrial societies in which there is minimal division of labor and people feel united by shared values and common social bonds. Organic society refers to the social cohesion found in industrial societies in which people perform very specialized tasks and feel united by their mutual dependence. So, what would that be? An industrial society that has a specialized task, you have a person that maybe they run a piece of equipment that they're the only ones that can run it. And that will, other people will depend on that piece of equipment. If it goes down, they can't do their job. So we have um, Gemeinschaft is a traditional society in which social relationships are based on personal bonds of friendship and kinship and on intergenerational stability. Gesellschaft is a large urban society in which social bonds are based on impersonal and specialized relationships with little long term commitment to the group or consensus on values. Some politicians and everyday people argue that social agencies and institutions have little or no responsibility to assist homeless persons. So we have a comparison between the two. Gemeinschaft is characterized by rural life, a sense of community based on similarity, intimate face-to-face social interactions, primary focus on personal relationships, informal social control, ascribed statuses are most important, and limited social change. Then the Gesellschaft is characterized by urban life, lack of feeling of community, impersonal and task-oriented relationships, primary focus on tasks or goals to be accomplished, formal social control, archived statuses most important, and social change is more prevalent. So everyone interprets social interaction rituals differently. Social construction of reality is the process by which our perception of reality is largely shaped by the subjective meaning that we give to an experience. Symbolic interaction theorists believe that there is very little shared reality beyond that which is socially created. A self-fulfilling prophecy is a false belief or a prediction that produces behavior that makes the originally false belief come true. If someone is always telling another person that they're a bad person, that they're a horrible person, that they aren't good for anything, they will live down to that idea that they're not worth anything. They'll choose their relationships that way. They will choose jobs that way. They will live their entire life that way. And it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. According to researchers, homeless people were trapped between the homed system, having a place to stay or live, the social service system, which offered formal help but was quick to be labeled and stigmatized. And that creates a problem. It also creates uh, a self-fulfilling prophecy. We have ethnomethodology in the study of common sense knowledge that people use to understand situations in which they find themselves. Dramaturgical analysis. It's a study of social interaction that compares everyday life to a theatrical presentation. The actors have a social script, and a social script is a playbook that the actors use to guide their verbal replies and overall performance to achieve the desired goals of the conversation or fulfill the role they're playing. Impression management, or the presentation of self, refers to the people's efforts to present themselves to others in ways that are most favorable to their own investments or image. A lot of times people will say image is everything. That's how you get any place, is you have this major image that you have more power than maybe you have. And face-saving behavior refers to the strategies people use to rescue their performance when they experience a potential or actual loss of face. People consciously participate in studied non-observance. Sociologist Arlie Hochschild suggests that humans acquire a set of feeling rules that shapes the appropriate emotions for a given role or specific situation. The roles include how, when, where, and with whom an emotion should be expressed. Feeling rules apply to people's occupational roles also. Social class and race are determinants in managed expression and emotional management. Commercialization of human feelings may dehumanize people's work role performance and create alienation and contempt that spills over into other aspects of their life. Many middle and upper income individuals outsource emotional labor in a more intimate aspect of their lives. There's nonverbal communication. We use nonverbal communication all the time. It's a transfer of information between persons without the use of words. Visual cues, gestures, appearances, vocal features, inflection, volume, pitch, and environmental factors use the space and position. So here's just a quick review of concepts. Social interaction, given society, forms social interaction have shared meanings, although these may vary some extent based on race, ethnicity, gender, and social class. Social construction of reality, the process by which our perception of reality is largely shaped by the subjective meaning that we give to an experience. Ethnomethodology, studying the common sense knowledge that people use to understand the situations in which they find themselves. It makes us aware of subconscious social realities in daily life. Dramaturgical analysis, the study of social interaction that compares everyday life to a theater presentation. Approach includes impression management, which is people's efforts to present themselves favorably to others. And social emotions. We are socialized to feel certain emotions, and we learn how and when to express them. And then nonverbal communication, that's transfers of information between persons without using any words, using facial expressions, head movements, and even hand gestures. So that is, in a nutshell, a lot of definitions this week. So make sure that you read so that you have all the information that you need. Take the quiz, write the paper. You have until 11:59 next Sunday night to have chapter 4 completed. And then I will have more for you for next week. So I hope you have a good week. I hope everything goes well. And we'll see you soon.